So Jujutsu Kaisen is now back from its 3-week break, which more so felt like a couple months because those insane episodes we was getting back to back with hidden inventory was concluded. But with the anime back again, we are now drawn into a completely new and separate arc of the story, the prelude to the famous and most favorited arc in the story of JJK that every fan of the manga cannot stop hyping up, including myself. The long-awaited Shibuya Arc, and from the episode I just aired a couple days ago, the Jujutsu Kaisen you know and like is now over. This episode, and probably most of the following episode, is serving as the prelude to the next arc and pretty much the beginning of the end for the Jujutsu Kaisen we once experienced. The story is now heading into a direction that will honestly completely shatter you in pretty much every way, shape and form, and any expectations you might have had, especially if you are going into this arc blind, is probably going to be broken and reshaped entirely. Just to preface, I obviously won't be going into any spoilers in this video for my anime onlys, because if you are experiencing this arc blind, it's definitely a hell of a ride that you'd want no explicit background information on, but I just wanted to give you that obligatory warning before we truly get into the meat of the arc, which is going to happen faster than you think. Jujutsu Kaisen's pacing within this arc felt like it was going on 4x speed with how different events was taking place and how the overall story was progressing when I first read it, but at the same time Gege does not rush what he's trying to present, so don't feel any caution towards that. Just know that the Shibuya Arc, just as probably a couple people you know or have seen online have said and talked about, is a very progressive arc that pushes a lot of interesting scenarios upon our characters, which in turn forces them to develop and grow in pretty much every way. I know a lot of people in the community was kinda taking a liking to Yuta when JJK0 got adapted, throwing around takes like why isn't Yuta the main character of the story, he's a lot more entertaining than Yuji, which I honestly can't fault you for, even though I disagree, but I can almost guarantee that most people who share this opinion will probably drop it in a heartbeat after this current story arc. I obviously won't get into Yuji's character and how it is affected by the events that happen in this arc right now, or any of the other characters matter of fact, but your perspective on him and others, even down to the core trio itself, will completely shift. This arc is straight up non-stop hype, action and jaw-dropping moments that I felt like I had to make a video before it all goes down. There's a lot of events that take place in an arc that isn't even long in comparison to other shonen, but the impact it has is insane. JJK is going into one of the best arcs in modern shonen that will have some sort of impact in the way you view the story right now, and although the episode I just dropped isn't the most hype, battle craze content that certain people was expecting, which will definitely come very soon, don't you worry about that. This approach they took with bringing us back to interactions with our main trio was actually so important, even though it was only about half of the episode, since it essentially serves as the calm before the storm that's gonna happen from pretty much the following episode. As I said before, Shibuya is a straight roller coaster and a disaster at its core, so starting off with say the Mechamaru vs Special Grades fight we saw towards the latter half of the episode would have been jumping the gun a bit, especially since it isn't a clear jump from the events that took place from season 1 to now. We've had an entire flashback arc to start the season, so bringing us back to the main trio even for something as simple and down to earth as the Ozawa interaction was actually an important segment for what's to come next. The scene helped us build that connection we have to this group more as they're getting more screen time together, and even though its main purpose in my eyes was it serving as the calm before the storm, as I said before, and the only real relaxed part of this arc before we get into madness left, right and center, in totality this part of the episode was genuinely just wholesome, and it was nice to see the gang all back together again, even if it's about some goofy movie and a character who serves no real purpose in this arc. It was very reminiscent of season 1 and the entertaining little comedy bits we got here and there. This part is actually canon, it's not filler or nothing that Mappa cooked up, however they moved some parts around. The Ozawa segment was supposed to be right after the Nobara Yuji fight in season 1 to kinda end off that arc before we go into Gojo's flashback, but in hindsight Mappa moving this part a little further into the story and after hidden inventory was a smart move that works as a part of the prelude to Shibuya. Going a little further into the scene of Todo and Meimei we got at the end of season 1 was also good as well, because it works as a refresher on that pretty big event for the Jujutsu High students, with them basically getting a promotion to grade 1. It was important to shed some light on that as it's a pretty big progression for the gang, but at the same time it was also nice to see a familiar face with Todo, the most goated side character from season 1. This episode was really good throughout, but pretty much everyone who's watched was probably most excited about the Mechamaru segment, which I most definitely can't fault you for. The gang get into their usual missions and whatnot, but this time it's regarding a spy for the cursed spirits who has been leaking intel to them. Usahime and the others suspect it's a student from Kyoto's Jujutsu High that has been leaking the intel, so of course they send the students from Tokyo to investigate. And obviously they find out it's Mechamaru that was a spy, as he manages to completely bait them with his whereabouts, and us watching the episode as well, as the scene shifts to Mechamaru facing off with Getsu and Mahito. Mappa really are them when it comes to this directing stuff. The scenes that don't need to to be great, like Gojo flipping a pen around or the ping pong match earlier in the episode, are so well animated and adapted to the point where the studio is just trying to flex at this point. But through that suspenseful scene of Yuji and the others hunting him down, we are now finally at the Mechamaru vs Mahito fight. The dramatic prologue to Shibuya, and easily a personal favourite of mine because it works so damn well to build up this next arc. Mechamaru ain't the most relevant character in JJK, but Gege using him as the catalyst before Shibuya was an interesting choice that I've actually grown to really like. Mechamaru's reasoning behind working with these cursed spirits is actually understandable, even though it may not have been the best course of action. Mahito has arguably the most busted curse technique in all of JJK with the idol transfiguration that can heal someone like Mechamaru whose body is in shambles with literally a single touch. His dream is to have a healthy body and be with his classmates without having to use a puppet, so he basically made a deal with the devil to fix himself up. But of course with that, he's now got to square up to this said demon, who we know is just pure evil from the shit he was pulling off in season 1 alone with Junpei and stuff. The fight ain't really even start yet, but damn, Mappa is already making this shit look gas as fuck. Those puppets was doing nothing to Mahito, but we knew that this man Mechamaru had to have something up his sleeve to square up against not just Mahito but possibly Geto as well. So he proceeds to pull out a big ass mecha that looks like it's straight out of Evangelion, truly living up to his name and finally exercising these cursed spirits for good. I'ma save my thoughts on this fight for the next video once it's all wrapped up, which should be in the next episode, but it's already looking so fucking cool. Mechamaru using his cursed energy that he gathered over the years and blasting a year's worth right towards Mahito was wild as hell. He really prepared to take these cursed spirits down, who are the only obstacle he has to achieving his dream of being with his classmates. The trailer showed some shots from this fight and it was some of the best the trailer had to offer, I'm not even gonna lie. But for some reason I thought the studio would lead with CGI for this giant mech, but I was completely wrong and it looks incredible. Mappa are taking this project to different levels, and this fight and everything else in Shibuya is gonna look crazy and I'm so here for it. The opening sequence looks friggin' incredible and definitely has the best visuals out of all the JJK openings so far that perfectly encapsulate Shibuya as an arc, with that extreme use of the color red, which as you probably noticed is a complete contrast to Hidden Inventory's over the top use of the color blue and just a lighter color scheme in general. Shibuya is unlike anything the story has put forth so far and would definitely have some kind of impact on the way you view JJK. There's absolutely nothing to worry about with the production because Mappa are cooking heat week in and week out, and if they get the important moments done right, this arc is reaching that generational status without a doubt. My manga readers out there know that this arc is insane, but the experience in the anime is going to be something else entirely, and if Jujutsu Kaisen gets a narrator, something similar to Hunter x Hunter, we are eating crazy good, and that insane stretch of 55 or so chapters in the manga is going to get surpassed pretty comfortably, just like how Hidden Inventory got elevated in the anime. But in any case, JJK is now back after the short break and I'm so ready for this next arc, man. Expect a video sometime later this week as well for the next episode, because that's going to be some heat that I gotta cover. But for now, thank you all for watching, leave a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in my next video. Peace.